officially the 1st of December, which can only mean one thing. It's time to do some super fun festive baking. Today we're going to be making Christmas Crumbl Cookies. I am so excited for this one. This is going to be my last Crumbl Cookie episode of the year, so we're going to go out with a bang. It's going to be amazing. There's no point waffling on, let's just get straight into it. I am just so excited. Okay, so first things first, we're going to preheat our ovens to 170 degrees. That's if you have a fan oven. If you don't, then it'll be 190. So let's do that now. And then in a large mixing bowl, we're going to add 115 grams of margarine and 125 grams of caster sugar and also 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, which is what's going to give these cookies a nice sweet flavour. We're going to add that to an electric mixer. You can do this with a hand mixer or a stand mixer. Attach a paddle attachment to our mixer, and then we're going to beat that until it's light and fluffy, which should take about 2 to 3 minutes. So let's do it. If your mixture's sort of riding up the sides a little bit, just get a spatula, press it back down, and then put the mixer back on. But anyway, we should now be left with something that looks like this. It doesn't have to be like, you know, super fluffy. This took me about 2.5 minutes. And the reason that we do this is actually because it's going to incorporate a little bit of air into the cookies. We want them to spread, but we also want them to be a little bit fluffy inside. Next up, we're just going to add 1 medium egg into the bowl and then add that back to our mixer until fully combined. It is going to look a little bit wet and liquidy at this point, but don't worry, that's absolutely normal. In this bowl, I've got 225 grams of plain flour, and I'm going to be adding in half a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. I see a lot of people online adding baking powder to their Crumbl cookies, but I just think that's the wrong move because we don't want really small, thick cookies. We want them to be nice and wide, but also having a little bit of height. We're going to add the dry ingredients into the mixing bowl and then mix again until we have our dough. It really is that simple. Honestly, I love this recipe. And I know at Crumbl they don't really do this, but I want to make it a little bit more exciting. So I've got these Christmas hundreds and thousands sprinkles from Waitrose, which I absolutely love because you can't get these anywhere else. Each year I have a little look around to see if I can find the best Christmas sprinkles in the UK, because we have sort of like laws and regulations about what we can actually put into our sprinkles. A lot of them aren't really that vibrant because we can't add those sort of things to make them vibrant. I think they're sort of like, is it chemicals, whatever they're called, they are illegal here. But I think these ones have done a pretty good job this year. Hell, did you hear that? So I'm just going to add a few of these, not too many because we don't want it to be like overpowering, just a few to give them a little bit of colour. I'm just going to mix that again until they're evenly distributed. The cookie dough is complete. Don't be disheartened if you think, oh, it looks like quite a loose dough. That's fine, because I've just noticed that when you make the dough really thick, they just become too tough and they don't spread very much. We don't want that. And then I'm going to take 2 large baking trays, pop them on my counter. I need to go get my baking paper, it's in the conservatory. I recently bought an absolutely massive roll of baking paper because I go through a lot of baking paper and I was just getting sick and tired of having to constantly buy more from the supermarket. So I've bought this absolutely huge one in the hopes that it will last me a very long time. So I'm just going to get a little bit of that off and place it on one of the baking trays. I am just going to scoop up some of the cookie dough, make it into a nice evenly sized ball, and then I am just going to place that onto my baking tray and then do the same 3 more times in a zigzag sort of pattern so that they don't all like squash into each other. Once we've got 4 balls of cookie dough on the tray like this, I'm just going to flatten them a little bit and make them as sort of like circular as I can. So you're going to be left with something that looks like this. I'm also just going to measure out the other cookies before I put these in the oven, just to make sure that each cookie is as even as possible, because we want them all to be the sort of same size, and I think having them all sort of out next to each other is going to be a good indicator of that. I've got both trays here, so I'm going to put the first batch in. We're going to bake them for around 8 to 12 minutes. It can always vary, so I'm going to aim for about 10 minutes, and you'll know they're done when they're a light golden brown colour at the edges. So let's put them in and I'll report back once they're baked. First lot are out. This is what they're looking like. We're just going to tap the tray on the countertop a couple of times just to give the cookies a nice flat consistency, and then also we're going to take a large circular cookie cutter and just mould them into a circular shape as much as possible. They smell so good, honestly. I'm going to put the next batch in. I cooked these for 10 minutes as I was hoping to do. I think any longer and they would just start to be a bit overcooked, to be honest. I'll give you a close-up of what they look like. Very nice, if I do say so myself. So let's put these aside for now and move on to making the buttercream. In this bowl, I've got a big block of butter. We've added our butter into our mixing bowl, and once again, we're going to put a paddle attachment into our mixer. This bit is going to unfortunately take a little bit of time, but it's worth it. So we're going to beat the butter on a medium medium to low speed for about 10 minutes, because what that's going to do is completely change the colour. It's going to go from like sort of like dark yellow to white and fluffy. And also throughout the time it's beating, you want to just get a spatula and just scrape down the sides, because actually the bits at the sides will end up staying yellow. So we do want to make sure that our butter is the same colour throughout. So let's do it. It's been 10 minutes and these are the second batch of cookies. I'm over the moon with how these have turned out. We've also got our beaten butter, which as you can see is looking nice and white and fluffy. So what we're going to do now is an equal ratio of butter to icing sugar. So because I've got 250 grams of butter, I'm going to do 250 grams of icing sugar. We're basically just going to beat that again until it's fully combined. A good hack for this, if you don't want icing sugar to go everywhere, is just to get a tea towel and then start the mixer and just hold it in place for like the first initial 30 seconds, just to make sure it doesn't go flying everywhere. It's honestly the worst thing when you're having to like clean icing sugar away from all the walls and the countertops. So that is now just evenly combined, and we're going to add a really tiny drop of purple food colouring in there, because what that's going to do is cancel out the yellow tones and make sure our buttercream is nice and white. And then while we're adding stuff, we're going to add some vanilla extract, about a teaspoon, and then we mix again for another 5 minutes until it's nice, smooth, silky and fluffy. Okay, our buttercream is done and ready to use. It's looking gorgeously fluffy, and now it's already time to start decorating. I feel like we've only been at this like an hour, so that is such a quick turnaround. And also, if you wanted it to be even quicker, you could make your buttercream in advance and then freeze it until you need it, which is a great little baking hack. Right, I'm just going to give this a quick stir because it's going to have a lot of air bubbles in it now. Now it's time to start decorating. This is the piping nozzle that I'm going to be using. It says on it 3A, and then we're just going to add that to a piping bag and add in our buttercream. Also, if you haven't invested in a few different size spatulas, I would honestly highly recommend. I swear by these spatulas. They really help get out all of that residue so you're not wasting any products and ingredients. I am going to nicely display all of my cookies on this chopping board, but it's not actually a chopping board. I don't use it for chopping. I'm going to put 7 on here because the 8th one won't fit. And now we're going to start decorating. So I will zoom in for this. We're just going to start at the edge and just go all the way around in a circle, applying even pressure to the piping bag until it looks like that. This is my issue, right? I can't do things under pressure, but I'm going to keep piping and I'll report back when they're all done. Okay, I finally managed to put the buttercream on. It's definitely not perfect. It just wasn't going my way today. I had to keep redoing them, but it's going to be covered by sprinkles anyway. So firstly, I think to half of them we're going to add these hundreds and thousands sprinkles, and then the other ones we're going to add these Jolly Holly sprinkles. So I'm just going to, in a couple of places on the cookies, do 2 of those and then 2 of these. Sorry, I'm so bad at like talking when I'm concentrating because I start shaking as well. I'll do a time lapse so that I can actually show you without talking, because your girl just gets a little bit stressed. I don't even know why I'm shaking. I just don't want to ruin them. They are done. Like, look at that. I'm so happy with how these have turned out. They look absolutely incredible. I'll give you some close-ups of each one. This is the holly and berry one, to show you the flat bottom. That is like a proper crumble cookie. I am over the moon with that. So we've got 2 holly berries and some leaves and some little berries around the edges, just to make them look a bit more pretty. And then also we've got a classic Christmas sugar cookie crumble cookie. That is the biggest mouthful ever, but this is what that looks like. Just simple but effective. They look amazing. So yeah, here they are, the finished result. I would honestly give this a 10 out of 10. These may be my favourite ones of the Crumbl Cookie series, and on that note, we're bringing it to a close for the rest of the year until 2026. Maybe I will do some more next year, we will see. I have really enjoyed bringing you along with me to make all the different Crumbl Cookies. Let me know if you've watched the series, which ones were your favourite. We've done standard ones, autumn flavoured ones, Halloween ones, and now Christmas ones. I'm gonna go in and say that the Christmas ones are my favourite. I just love them, I love them. But yeah, let me know which ones you like the most, and thank you for coming along. Let me know in the comments what Crumbl Cookie flavours you would like me to make in the new year. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, the hype button, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week for a new video.